This is Vincent Crowley, and you are listening to the Dan Chan Show.
So I'm joined by Vincent from Death Metal as Vincent Crowley. How you doing, man, in Columbus, Ohio?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Very well, thanks, mate. What's the weather like at the moment?
It is cold as hell right now.
Because obviously I'm British, so we always go straight for the weather question first, and we get that out of the way. That must be quite the culture shock coming from, you used to live in Florida and then being in Columbus. What made you move north?
Just a change of scenery, and I lived in the heat for so long. I definitely wanted to get back to having seasons again, and having the winter and snow.
Sure, sure. I understand that. Especially coming from England. Right. So let's get on to the music. You will release your brand new full length anthology of horror later this month. How excited are you to be getting this out to the masses?
Actually, very excited. It's actually the album was done several months ago, and
Yeah.
we missed the deadline for the end of last year, so we've been kind of waiting around for it to get its release.
Yeah.
So it's been very anticipated by us.
So he's not necessarily old news for you now. He's still fresh still.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, back in December, you released, I think it was two brand new tracks, That Witch Lurked Below the Sea. And only last week you released Amityville's Horror. Tell me about these tracks and why they were chosen to release pre-album.
There were songs that we thought kind of show what the direction the band was in, and we definitely wanted people to know that this wasn't Asheron 2.0. It was
Yeah.
a new band, a new sound, a new vibe, and we just thought it kind of gave two different styles of what we were doing for this album.
Great tracks.
Thank you.
For sure. Now, going back to 2021, which obviously with COVID and the pandemic, everything that happened there, it does seem like a long time ago now, especially now in 2024. What was the feedback on your first album, Beyond Asheron, which came out in 21? What was the vibe around that? What made you want to continue going? Was it good feedback for you? Did you get positive vibes from that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really pay attention to the reviews and stuff like that, but we actually, for once, was getting some really positive reviews. Uh, it's going from one band that I played in for 30 fucking years, and
Yeah.
doing something new, you're always going to get fans that are like, what's he trying to do? And that Asheron had run its course, and I've been wanting to do something like this for years, and it was time to do something new. uh when it came out, I got a lot of great support from the fans, and people were really digging what was being created.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I've been wanting to just do this band. I'll do other stuff on the side, but this is my main band.
So is it exclusive to you? Did you bring everyone in, or did you kind of like get your friends in, guests in, or was it just like you on your own and then with guests next to you sort of thing?
Actually, it's funny because a lot of people consider this like a solo album,
Yeah.
where it's really not. It's actually probably more of a band than Asheron was, because I used multiple musicians that Asheron worked with.
Yeah.
And with this band, it's kind of like how King Diamond went from Merciful Fate to King Diamond. He
Yeah.
used his name.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Uh,
get it.
I've been working with the same guys since the beginning. We've added a couple people, but we haven't replaced anybody, and it's just been a really solid unit, and we work well together. Everybody is included in the songwriting and
That's
the
cool.
influences of what we do, and what we do in the studio. So it's what I've been wanting for years, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you like to write and craft your music? Are you a collaborative type of guy, or are you a lone soldier? Because you not only sing, you play bass and guitar as well. I mean, how do you like to write music with the guys or on your own?
I like, well, what I do is the songs I write, you know, uh, our one guitarist, Art Taylor, he writes too. We're pretty much write the songs and bring it to the table, and everybody adds their parts, or
Yeah.
what they want to do. And I I just kind of like come up with stuff. Now that I'm not actually playing bass in a band,
Yeah.
I can concentrate just more on songwriting, which is a lot better. And I also can concentrate more on what I'm doing vocally than just, kind of putting vocals to the music.
How do you like to when you're recording live? I mean, when you're recording, how do you approach that? Do you approach it in more like a traditional way, or do you do it more digital, all separately, doing it at your own time sort of thing?
We all do it at our own time. We we try to get the sound, with this album, well, the last two albums, I should say,
Mm,
we try to get a more organic sound. We didn't want to go for the typical trigger drum sound. We want to get a more natural, organic sound.
yeah,
The guitars and everything, it, it just works well in the studio that way.
sure.
And when I do my vocals, I especially since they're all based on horror themes and
Yeah.
songs themes, I tried to get in that mood by myself. So to do it with a band, I really don't think I could do that because you have to get in the whole
Do,
psychotic frame of mind for
do
that.
you kind of like, how do you prep for that? Do you watch some like horror videos? Do you light the candles? Do you get into that zone? Maybe have a little drink, or are you a bit more pure than that?
I just go right for the madness of the mind.
Yeah.
I quit drinking like 10 years ago.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
I try to just embrace the insanity within and
Right.
just kind of go there. And Um, that's what this compared to like the old Asheron stuff. I'm doing a lot,
Mm,
lot more vocally with experimenting and doing layering and different types of vocal styles. And it's still the more extreme stuff, but
yeah.
it definitely goes more with the pattern that should go with the story themes.
Sure. And that leads me perfectly into the brand new video, Amityville's Horror. It's a great video. You really come through very menacing, and you can tell how, theatrical your voice is in that moment for telling a story. With the other tracks, what do you like to write about? What are the themes? Obviously Crowley, and we've got Poe, and we've got, things like Lovecraft in there, but what else?
We did like, I kind of went to the go-tos in horror. We have songs that uh I have a song I wrote called Gods of Crimson Callings, and it's kind of my story of how vampires could have started, which they weren't here. They were actually alien.
Yeah.
And it just has that kind of twist. We have like the werewolf. We have a couple voodoo songs, talk
Mm,
about voodoo and themes of that nature. Jekyll and Hyde, the classic, stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So this one we definitely touch base on a lot of the things that people are pretty familiar with.
How do you get into the mindset? I mean, you've said when you're performing and when you're doing the vocals in the studio, but how do you get into the mindset to write like that?
You really, it's like you said, you watch movies, you kind of have to put your head in a whole different world. Like,
Mm,
especially when we have a song called Nowhere to Hide, which is based on Jekyll and Hyde, and I had to put myself in that split
mm,
personality mode and putting yourself as that character, just like an actor would, in a movie.
mm.
It's very refreshing to me because I've never done that before. Because my old stuff was a lot of being angry and just kind of getting out my views or dark stories, but
Sure.
they're more based on this. This is like you're going into that character, and you really have to kind of morph into that role.
Because obviously I assume, Vincent, that you have a family life, maybe you working and everything like that. It is a Jekyll and Hyde in your own life, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And, it's I think people, for the longest time, I think people when they see your bands or they see pictures or interviews, they think you like live this
Yeah.
dark life, 24/7 and you go to the grocery store and knee-high leather boots and upside down crosses and it's kind of funny, but yeah, it's definitely a balance. And I work a job or normal job, and some people know what I do, some people don't, and some people would probably freak out if they knew what
Yeah,
I did.
yeah.
But it's just a part of life, and it's a reality.
I just picture that when you're saying that, I picture that famous picture of Glenn Danzig walking through a supermarket car park with his cat litter. Have you seen that picture? It's like he's
Yeah,
just he's a regular guy doing his shopping. Glenn Danzig.
and you'd probably get me with the same thing too. It's like it's no different.
Someone should be doing it for you. You know what I mean? People expect these kind of things.
Right, right.
So why did you decide to take like I hate to say it because I don't like them, but a Bon Jovi approach to the band name? Vincent Crowley using your own name. What made you go down that path?
It's a funny story because it's when I was still when Asheron called it quits. I was actually just going to do live shows,
Yeah,
and I was going to obviously just use my name for that, and I was going to play just whatever music I wanted, maybe songs I used to play,
yeah,
and just for the live thing. And when Art Taylor, who used to be in Asheron as guitarist, we had wrote some songs at towards the end of Asheron, which we didn't really feel like they kind of fit Asheron,
yeah,
and we started, getting that mode of writing again. And we were like, yeah, we should really record these things. And when we were thinking of band names, we couldn't think of anything. And, Art actually even said, what about using your name? It's like King Diamond, because we're big King Diamond fans
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
and he goes, you know, people that know you will at least know that's your band. And so that the name, it wasn't like I want to form my own band with my own name. It just kind of happened that way.
Right. Yeah. Are you pleased you went down that route now?
Yeah, because I think, you know, people that have known me, they, let's face it, the first Asheron album came out in '92.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to be following me, all these years.
Sure. Of
And maybe some people that used to follow me know what I'm doing now instead of,
course.
if you have a different band name, they wouldn't know who the hell you were.
It's quite obvious now, which is good. You can
Right.
pick them back up. So let's take you back in time a little bit. You've been in the scene for a long time now, dare I say. How did you get in the scene originally? Whereabouts in Florida were you from?
It was from Tampa,
So you're
Florida.
from Tampa. So okay, I was gonna say thought you might be, but what got you started in getting into music as a young Vincent?
Well, actually, I lived in Michigan before I moved to Florida. I went through 2 years of high school, and then my parents moved and we went to Tampa.
Right.
And I had already started going down that underground metal route. I was just obsessed with it. And when I moved there, I didn't really know anybody. So I kind of that's when I really started to play guitar, and just because I didn't know people. And then I started to hit the local metal bars. I was underage and sneaking in,
Yeah.
and luckily I looked older, so I got in. And I met Ben Meyer from the band Nasty Savage,
Mm.
and we struck up a friendship. And he introduced me to all the stuff in the metal scene. Morbid Angel was
Yeah.
in the infancy back then, and Savatage and those bands. So it was a great experience to kind of have all this metal in front of me.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
I think because I remember seeing Morbid Angel and Massacre, I think it was in '86 maybe,
Wow.
that they were doing the show with the like original lineups. And
Yeah.
you know it was just incredible fucking how that scene was blowing up at that time.
Mm. See, it blows my mind that, that the whole Tampa being so, well, Florida and bright sunshine and everything, it's hardly like Scandinavia, is it? What do you think, what created the death metal scene in that area? What was it? Just a bunch of the same minded people, would you say?
No, I think a lot of people that were from Florida were kind of like me. They, even like Glenn Benton, he was from New York. And, there's, I think
Yeah.
we all got kind of planted there by, parents
Yeah.
relocating and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Mm.
And everybody thinks, I always used to crack up. They're like, how can you write this type of music when the sun shines? It's like
Yeah.
the sunshine can be fucking annoying too.
Yeah.
It can definitely make you angry, and you see people walking around in Hawaiian shirts and shorts.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't make you a happy person.
So, I mean, talking about your other bands as well, you've been involved in a few bands over the year, Ashron, obviously. What else have you been involved in? Tell us a little bit about that. And also, have you got any other projects going on at the moment?
There's a couple in the fire, kind of like start working on stuff I've been in. I did the band Infidel Reich um, with Bob Backus from they used to play drums in Asphyx,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was kind of like our tribute to almost like Carnivore SOD Motorhead type uh, worship.
Yeah.
And I was in a band called Wolf and Society, which was just a one-off EP I did with Lord Arman from Dark Funeral
Mm.
and Kyle Severin from Incantation and a couple of the guys from the Electric Hellfire Club.
Uh-huh.
But the first, I guess, legit band I was in was the band Nocturnus from Tampa. I was the original guitarist in that, and I was on their first demo.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's perfect leading into the next question is, after being in the industry for so many years, how do you feel it's changed?
It's changed a lot. I mean, it's now I'm in my 50s, and I do this because it's my love for the music. It's
Sure.
I don't have to do this. I can't see not doing it. It's just, I'm not a kid anymore where, you're hanging out with all your friends and, totally always into the scene. Um, I'm more in seclusion now, and I just kind of do this because it fulfills my
It's in your
needs.
blood, right? I mean, you've been doing it for 70% of your life. It's in your blood.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It's part of you.
and that's what's great to see. A lot of the bands that I started off with, still playing. You see
Yeah.
Deicide, you see Morbid Angel, you see
Yeah.
Cannibal Corpse, and it's just great to see that people are still carrying on the torch. And I don't know how many band or how many people told bands like us that this will be just a little phase and it'll go
Sure.
away and you'll
Sure.
be doing the normal life anytime soon.
Well, it's funny because I've had Obituary on the show before. I've had Cannibal Corpse on the show before, and they said the same thing. They were told that when they were kids or a lot, in the late teens, and look at them now, still firing all cylinders.
Yeah, especially Obituary. They're like, in Cannibal Corpse, they're still doing amazing and
Yeah.
selling out places and making a lot of money. And
Yeah.
I I would have said back in the day, I never would expect any of the bands back then to actually be
Still going.
touring and kind of making a living at
Yeah.
it.
In 2024, for God's sake. I mean,
Yeah.
how have you personally evolved throughout the years as well? Forget the industry. How have you evolved musically?
Oh, I think I'm a lot more open minded to stuff now. I've always been like I like different types of stuff. Uh, when you're younger, you have that kind of elitist attitude where
Of
you don't
course.
listen to certain
Of
things, and
course.
I can go back and listen to all kinds of stuff now, and I enjoy anything that's original or creative, and especially the darker, heavier stuff.
Yeah.
And where back in the day, if it didn't lurk in the underground, I didn't give a shit about it.
So what new bands are you into? Has anything piqued your interest of late? Anything new that
You
you
know,
want to tell us about that I might not about or anything like that, my listeners?
it's funny because it's like I discover bands that I have no idea when they've come out because I'm
Sure.
like not in the loop with that. But some bands that I guess that are kind of popular now that I kind of dig and is that band Tribulation. I really like that band.
I love those guys. Oh my God. I love those guys.
I think they give the music a very cool different vibe and
Yeah.
have some of that rock
Yeah. They're
element to
brilliant.
it.
They are
And
amazing.
another band kind of like that is that band Cloak. That's another band. I
Yeah, they're from
just
Atlanta,
kind of
aren't
got
they?
turned
And
on to it this year.
I've had both those bands on my show and they are both awesome and Cloak are fantastic. And they're from your part of the world, aren't they? Well, Georgia.
Yeah, I think I heard they relocated somewhere. I'm not sure, but yeah, they're They're in the States for sure.
Oh, they're amazing. They're so good. So moving on, shows, what's happening? Do you do many shows as Vincent Crowley? You know, what's your past history of gigs? Have you got out of the States much?
Actually, we're probably going to play only our we started off at the we played our first show at the end of last year, and at a festival in Kentucky, and then we played a friend of ours died, and we just kind of played a free tribute show to him locally. But
Yeah,
our we have a show planned in Cleveland on the 23rd or the 24th of February.
yeah,
And hopefully that will be the beginning of many more. Sharon used to always get offers to play on a regular basis. I would get, emails like every week about playing fest and shows.
yeah.
This is like starting over again. I mean, we kind of have to prove ourselves and get back in the swing again.
Sure.
So hopefully people start catching up on this album and see what we're doing, and we can start getting some shows booked.
What do you prefer as a musician? Do you prefer stage or studio?
Yeah, I think that's kind of equal because in the studio you get to use your creativity and experiment and deal with that part of yourself. Where on stage it's a whole different like animal because you just get Mr. Hyde comes out and you can unleash that beast inside you. And I love doing that. And I've missed playing live shows so much. That's
Mm,
why I really hope we start playing more live shows because, especially now that I'm just doing vocals, because I can really get into the lyrics. I can really just feel it. Where before, when you play an instrument and sing, you kind of have to give your energy to two different things where now I can just give it to my vocals.
is that, I mean, obviously that's obviously you don't have to think about a different instrument. You haven't got to think about obviously tuning guitar and getting all that sorted out. So it must give you a little bit more freedom on stage as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just enjoy because I go into my own little world on stage. I'm in front of people, but it's like no one else is there.
Yeah, I understand. So I always ask my American guests this, who has the best metal, the US or Europe, and why?
It's so hard because it's there's such great stuff coming out of both, it's mm-mm. Well, King Diamond lives in the
Yeah,
States now,
he
so
does. He does. Yeah, he does. He does. He does. So
but
you gonna say states then? Stick faithful.
yeah, I have to go. I mean, I love them both, but
Yeah,
I have to go Team US.
of course. I understand that, of course. Now, a couple of fun questions now. What do you deem to be like the heaviest song of all time? Where do you go to with that? What if you wanted to listen to something really repulsively heavy, what would you go for?
Hmm. I would say anything from that Winter album.
Yeah.
That that album was so fucking heavy, and
Yeah.
I mean, you could pick any song from there, and it's amazing. But you know, being old school, I can even say, that first Black Sabbath song. I mean,
Yeah.
fuck, nothing
Yeah.
compares to it still.
Of course. I've had that answer before. Now, coming from the death scene, what do you think is the craziest, most repulsive, like death metal track in existence? Let's think about something that you listen to the lyrics and it's like, you kind of like laugh out loud kind of thing. It's just utterly ridiculous. What do you think?
Hmm.
It's so many.
Yeah, I couldn't really think right now about that. Shit.
Or what, just something might come to mind.
I mean, one that always gave me a chuckle is Cannibal Corpse's "Fuck with a Knife." That's
Oh,
just the
yeah.
greatest title. It's
Oh, I come blood and shit like that. It's like, oh.
right. Like stuff like that is just fucking classic.
Right. Couple of questions left, some fun ones. If you could have any superpower, Vincent, what would it be and why?
Uh, making people evaporate
Okay,
just
cool.
because people suck.
Yeah. I agree with that. If you could choose one song to play every time you walked into the room for the rest of your life, what song would it be and why?
Hmm.
Like an intro. Any room you walk into, it's like I'm here. Like a boxer walking into a ring.
Like I Am Demon by Danzig.
Yeah, classic. Yeah, that's a classic. Love it. Now, this is interesting, and this takes you back, and it might take you back a little bit, might just realize who your heroes are, but who would be in your rock and metal Mount Rushmore?
Okay, I'd have to definitely go old school here. So,
Four. I think there's four presidents in Rushmore, right?
right,
Yeah, good. So let's go four.
I'd have to say Lemmy,
Good.
Ronnie James Dio,
Okay, yeah.
Tony Iommi,
Okay.
and King Diamond.
Well, that's Europe 3-1. So that goes back to our other question.
Right?
Caught you out there. Caught
Uh,
you. Finally, and this is an important question. What's the most used emoji in your phone, Vincent?
if I even use those, it'd be the horns
Of
for sure.
course. Of course. Well, Vincent, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. Thanks for joining me on the show and I appreciate your time. Good luck with the album and obviously the rest of 2024.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the support, brother.